Okay, so we're together. You probably have a message to give your consent to record. So we're together for helping you to discern whether a coaching certification is the next step for you. And if that would be, what are the key criteria that you need to know to really make the wisest choice between everything that's offered to you, because there are different coaching certifications available. And I want you to make sure that what you choose is actually suitable for you. Now, why does it actually matter that you make the right choice? Let me share with you. I've been accredited in 2010. And at that time, I think that was really a great decision. I'm really happy with it. Except that later on, I realized that it was not necessarily the wisest decision for different elements. Actually, the content was really good and the trainer were excellent. Now, the thing is, it was only in French with French people. And I have nothing against French people, being one of them. But when I then had to coach in English, I was just so worried. I had no experience in doing that and no experience of an international crowd in terms of interacting in that. And that was really quite a step for me to go into that new environment. The second is that it was not accredited ICF. So ICF is the International Coaching Federation. It's an association of coaches who give some kind of accreditation for people. So they accredit coaches at 3 levels, ACC, PCC, MCC, and they have accreditation for training as well. So for coaching training and for group coaching training as well. Now, the training I did, the certification I did, had no ICF accreditation. And so in some part of the world, it doesn't matter so much. But in some part where ICF did a very good job in terms of marketing, it becomes a must for you to have any corporate contract in terms of coaching. So I had been already clocking 600 hours of coaching when I needed to be ICF certified and accredited. And at that time, to be able to justify that I had already experiences and all that background, it took me 18 months instead of the simple 2 that I would have had if that was accredited. So that's also is something that we need to take into consideration. And the last one is about entrepreneurship. There was nothing about marketing. And I guess as Henry very humbly shared before, it's not because you have new skills that it makes you an entrepreneur and that you have right success straight away. There are some steps in finding my legitimacy, in finding who I want to serve, who I want to coach, why, what kind of added value do I bring, and how do I articulate it so that I sound credible. And that part is something that is rarely embodied in the coaching certification. And that I was really missing. So it took me 2 years to have more than 2 clients a year. And then I moved to Malaysia and I had to start everything again, knowing nobody. And it was another kind of adventure to be entrepreneur over there without necessarily the same visas, etc. So it matters to make the right decision when you start to select your coaching certification. Now, the thing is, the coaching profession is also evolving quickly. Here on this slide, you see 4 different columns, and you have there the list of the online coaching platforms. So online coaching platforms are just like Airbnb or Grab or Uber. So they matches the coaching request and the coaching offers. So what do you notice when you observe this table?
Growing. Fast.
Yeah, growing fast. And the thing is, they are here to stay. They're here to stay because, as you notice, there are some names that are really here for quite some time, and some are actually absorbing others, and they've been raising tremendous amount of funds. So once they are in place, they also have some rules that go with it. And so, for example, these digital platforms that used to be 5, last year there were 12, and they are run by a profitability logic. So they have a very lean process that helps to have automation. So you have less admin tasks to do in terms of invoicing, but in terms of who you are matched with, you're actually everything then is dictated by algorithm. So they want to also have high volumes, so which means that they are having mostly targeting first-time managers or middle managers where the most volume of demand is happening. And they want to have low rate because they take a high margin. I'm talking about high margin, it's about 50 to 70%. So the client, if the client pays 100 for a coaching hours, you as a coach get 30 to 50 euros. So that means that you need to be comfortable with the algorithm and you need to play by the rules because you can't really negotiate them. They're way too big for each of us to have the power to influence it. The other one is that thanks to our beautiful COVID virus, many things have changed in 2020. So before 2020, corporate coaching mostly happened face-to-face. People wanted to have you in their office and to have that interaction in person. Now, what was happening later on is that people were way more comfortable to have it online. They were even asking for it deliberately online because nobody had to travel. And indeed, it suits coaching very well. Now, the thing is, in terms of competition, it used to be local because you could only be coaching people in your area, or they could have only coaches in the vicinity. But now it's actually a global competition. And that changes quite a lot in terms of the landscape that you are operating in. And you will also notice on the last one that the number of certified coaches has tremendously increased. And so it means that if you have high competition and global competition, you better need to stand out if you want to really make a difference and if you want to have coaching as one of your primary activity. So I don't want to be over alarming, but I want you also to be really realistic on how is the market in terms of what's happening on coaching. Because that will help you to then decide whether it's actually worth to go into that and what you can expect to get in terms of your coaching certification training.
Sorry, Marianne. Melak has been trying to log in the last 15 minutes. She's asking for the password. She's trying to come in from Switzerland. She can't log in on the link. Hi, Halima.
Hi. So shall I share the link on the... Okay, so I was just sharing that there is a global competition and there is quite a high competition. Now, not as high as the numbers could be saying, because when we say here, there are 100,000 coaches, these are the number of people who are certified, but doesn't mean that all of them are practicing. I would say maybe 30% are. Not everyone is actually using their coaching skills after their coaching certification. Okay, so in terms of the key question that you need to ask when you choose among different coaching certifications, I will invite you to ask all of these ones. So which coaching techniques do you teach? With whom do you practice? Do you offer supervision? How many people do you train? How do you mentor them? And how do you help me getting hired as a coach later on? Because if you have excellent coaching techniques, if you have real practice with clients, if you do have support under the form of supervision and mentoring, and if you have a clear positioning, this is way, way, way higher to stand out and to keep practicing your coaching skills, as well as making sure that you have enough clients to keep going. Now we'll go into details for each of them. So for example, when I'm talking about which coaching techniques do you teach, most often we hear, oh, I teach the GROW model. And the GROW model is a very valid coaching model where G is for goal, R for reality, options, and way forward. So that gives you a very straightforward, logic way of guiding someone. Now, as you may imagine, one model rarely will fit every single configuration. So, for example, if I'm coaching a leader who received a very poor feedback and so affected that he just wants to quit, if I ask him, what's your objective, what's your reality, etc., I just lose him. Because what he needs is to be able to deal with that shock, with that anger, with all the emotion, and bring them back into the reasoning so that he grow his self-confidence again. And then later on, we can reason on a more objective coaching goal. But I need something more. For example, if I coach a teenager who needs to find what would be his career and then his studies, and he has zero idea. If you ask him about his passion, he's like, I don't know. Maybe I want to be a YouTuber, or anyway, I want to be rich. And you're just like, yeah, but what's more, right? And here again, using the GROW model is definitely not sufficient, especially because the teenager has a lot of pressure to handle from the parents, from the school, a very important decision to make. And here we need something that's really adapted. And a last example, I've been coaching a senior leader in a huge organization, and they have decided that they want to reduce their staff by 1/3. And that person was feeling so guilty that he has kept his job that he was actually crying in the coaching session. You know, at that time, I can't really use one model. I need to have something deeper. I need to connect with humanity. That was completely unexpected. But I also need to cope with the reality that the person is experiencing. So I need to have atypical coaching questions, and I need to have a rich palette of coaching techniques. The other danger as well, if we have too few coaching models, is that we can harm people. We can lead people into an ethical decision. And if it's really easy to apply, sooner or later, AI will do way better and we would have lost everything. The trust of the client plus the expertise that we have gained. So that's why in the People Coach certification that I'm running, you have in module 1, all these 6 models, among which the GROW model, that we teach in module 1. And then in module 3, we have these 12 steps model, and each of them has their own techniques. So at that time, you have a large variety of coaching techniques. But what's more important than to have a whole variety is to know which one to use in which circumstance. So I'm happy to share and help people to gain more knowledge. but I want to make sure that they also have the ability to practice and to grow their learning, their critical thinking, so that at the moment the person is in a specific situation, we choose the right tool to help this person grow and move forward. What's happening as well is that little by little, each participant is growing confidence, and then they combine the different tools. And you then notice that they've really taken ownership of their own learning, and they now have that proficiency that professional coaches have, where they can really be really attuned to what is needed for the client. There is a plane on top of my head, so I may just wait a little bit so that you can hear me better. Okay, so the second question is really about practice. If you were learning surgery, it would be important that you practice, right? And if the only way to practice would be on dead body, I'm not too sure that you would be trusting this surgeon, because there is a place to learn on dead bodies, right? It's important, and you take your time and you can unwrap everything. But if you make the wrong decision, it has zero consequences, right? If you choose the wrong tool, it doesn't matter. And you will not bear any unpleasant consequences. So it's important that in coaching, we also have more than coaching our peers where there's nothing at stake, or more than just as you wish and there's nothing structured, because then there's nothing at stake, there's no commitment, there's no consequences, and people will give you very limited feedback because they hardly care. It doesn't really matter. So what happens is that when you have only been through that peer coaching or as you wish without structure, later on, once you are certified, you say, hey, I'm brand new certified. Like, yeah, but where shall I start? How do I handle clients? How do I deal with a client who's not motivated? Or how do I deal with a client who's not progressing? And we are also developing wrong habits that could harm people because we're not really prepared to deal with real client issues. We're not aware, and we may run into serious troubles. So in the people coach certification, I made it really mandatory. You can't escape that everyone is practicing. So yes, there is one peer coaching that is well designed, making sure that you do have feedback and making sure that you are not in a dual relationship or bartering. There's a proper structure for that. And you need to coach for real client. Why having all these 5? Because that gives you a critical mass to experience that your coaching style is actually adapting to different kind of people. It gives you also some critical mass to notice some patterns in what you are growing, in your coaching skills, evolutions. And it gives you also a lot of cases where it's not so easy and where you have to deal with it, and making sure that you're not alone in that learning path. You have a safety net that is the supervision. So I'm an accredited and trained supervisor, meaning that I help coaches on their difficult coaching cases, on their own positioning, and on everything that is affecting their professionalism and their ethics. So it's here designed so that you practice every single week and that you have support in any time you need, so that you're really back to your next coaching session empowered and aligned, so that you know what to do next, even if the previous coaching session was not so glorious. And it will happen as it happened to every coach, even to me. After 14 years in coaching, I still need a supervisor and sometimes calling, hey, I need help or not. I just don't know why I'm struggling so much and I need to get that clarity and to progress further. So it's important that we can give our very best to the client, but for that, we need to be also noticing when we're no longer the very best person that we can be. And at that time, asking for help and having references. So in the coaching, in the people coach certification, you do have the structure to request that help.
Marianne?
And yes.
Can
Yes,
you
Jonathan.
please give a little clarity to what is peer coaching in the certification? What do you mean peer coaching?
So peer coaching is that you are coaching someone who is from the same group as yours as participant. So you are coaching a participant and another participant is coaching you. So it cannot be barter, it cannot be biased. It's two different people. And both are bound by confidentiality. So when you need to share, you can definitely do. And you are then progressing as well as experiencing, practicing with somebody who is familiar with coaching. So it's a step that helps to feel comfortable with that person. You can probably be more daring or sometimes pause the coaching. Oh, so sorry. I didn't think it was the right question. Let me rewrap and give it a different question, which you probably won't do so much with a client. So it's to be a bit more comfortable and it's a learning path, but it is limited to one person so that you do have real clients and real issues and real life happening as well. So you have this protected peer coaching and you have the real coaching world where supervision helps. Okay.
Mm.
So beyond asking how many coaching techniques do you have, how do you practice and how is it organized? The third question is also how many people do you train and how do you mentor them? So what's important is that you have a group that is large enough so that you can have very insightful discussions and interactions and a variety of people so that when you're practicing together, they're not your clone and you need to adapt to different people, different styles, different culture, sometimes different language too. And it's important as well that it's not too big. So for example, if you have one MCC, so MCC is the highest level in terms of the ICF accreditation for coaches. If you have one MCC and one or two people who help for 100 participants, I would think that the ratio is not really that good because you getting feedback from that person or that MCC is actually very limited in terms of change, in terms of chance. So it's important that when we're talking about mentoring, you have enough mentors per participant so that you do have valuable feedback. Now, in the People Coach certification, we have 6 to 12 participants, and we make sure that you have a minimum of 5 observed mentoring practice during module 2, where you'll be practicing with clients. And every month we have the supervision session where you bring all your questions and we help you getting back on track. And you are also observed on how you coach so that you have direct feedback and you can really focus on growing what is needed so that you grow your competencies step by step. And once you're certified, once you've taken the final exam, you have another 3 individual mentoring coaching with me, where you actually record coaching sessions with your clients, and together we reflect on what you have done. So it helps you to have a regular check-in, really noticing how you progress. And so you have both group and individual mentoring. So I'm not the only one mentoring. Shanta, who's here, and Nancy, who's a good friend of Shanta as well, are helping me on that. And thanks to them, you have very complementary feedback. And we are really making sure that you have opportunity to know precisely where to grow, and you identify what are your strengths, because this is also what differentiates you and what is really unique and what will make your own style in terms of coaching. And each of us have a different style. So it's important that we know where it is typically us and that suits us best. Okay. And one last question, that would be, how do you help me to get hired as a coach later on? And very often there's nothing. And the real danger is that as any skills, coaching skills are really staying at a high level if you practice. So it's actually use or lose for quite a lot. And I know many coaches who are trying hard, but there's nothing substantial. So after 18 months, they still have their beautiful certification, but they go back to a different career path. And then, yeah, it's been a nice adventure, a great personal development, but it is also frustrating to invest so much time into that and not really getting the fruit of what we have built. So in that sense, we have a module 4 in the group coaching, in the people coaching certification, where we help you define what's your specialty, what's your brand, and what's your networking plan. And on that, you get feedback so that you can practice your specialty, you can practice your pitch, you can practice your positioning, and have these back and forth until you feel legitimate to articulate who you are, why you're doing that, and for whom, so that it's become fluid and you can leverage on your practice, that the one that you have accumulated with the 5 real clients, to have these credentials that are actually helping to build your credibility as well, and to help you define where is your added value, where is your positioning, where do you provide the best value. Now, this module is not mandatory, because there are people who are leaders who are taking the coaching certification, and they do not intend to be a professional coach later on. They just want to coach internally, and they don't need to have this marketing competence so high. So this one is not mandatory. It's a bonus, and you're definitely welcome to have it. Now, for those who wants to be professional coaches, that gives you also everything you need towards the ICF ACC. So ACC is the very first accreditation level that ICF has, and they require you some kind of accredited training, some coaching practice, so 100 of them, 100 hours. In the people coach certification, you already have completed 25. Then they request you to have 3 individual mentoring hours, which are actually included here as well. They want you to take an exam, which is actually included as well. And so the only thing that you need to do, and nobody can do instead of you, is actually practicing so that you have these 100 hours, and then you can submit your file to ICF for that. So as you have noticed, I have created the People Coach certification so that it is really crafted for your success. So really having excellent coaching techniques and a variety of them, have your real practice with clients that we do in module 2, the support that you need as well in terms of feedback on what you do, so these mentoring, so that you notice how you evolve in terms of competencies, and the support that you need in terms of mindset, in terms of presence, in terms of professionalism. And that one is under supervision in module 2. And the last one in terms of marketing is module 4. That is optional for those who wants to be there. Okay, I've been talking a lot so far. Is there any question at that stage?
Yes, Marianne, how will you compare possibly the type of training you offer and the ones that are available online?
It is available online, actually. And just because, first of all, we have a global audience. And so I'm in Luxembourg, Shanta is in Malaysia, Nancy is in Washington. So for you to have the privilege of having a great team that's a global one, we can only do it online. Second, the coaching business is significantly online. I'm running, I think, 95% of my business in terms of coaching online. And it's been like that for the last 14 years, more or less 80% to 95%. So you need to be able to be comfortable coaching online. Now, what is also happening is that, I'll show you later on, the content, the theory, I have registered it and you have it accessible online and you can do it at your own pace. And we have some live webinars when we're together, just like today, where you have practice. So you practice the content, how to apply the content that you have been seeing online. So everything is online. Now, if you have a coaching client who lives next door, obviously you can coach that person face-to-face as one of your clients. And I would even encourage that you have a mixture. Some real clients who are face-to-face and some real clients who are in online, so that you have both experiences and you can compare and you can feel comfortable in both instances. Does that answer your question, Charles?
Yes, but there are those courses that are purely available online. You register and you get module 1, module 2 up to module 5. And I think you don't see anybody. It's just a list of programs that you have to finalize, then you do your exam, and then you get your certificate.
Oh.
Isn't that easier?
Purely online coaching certification courses. That's what you mean.
Yes.
Are there purely online coaching courses by providers, certification providers? You don't see anybody, but you just go on an online platform and you learn and you get a certificate.
Yes, they are. But what's the quality of looking at great inspirational video when you have no practice? I mean, for me, it's no much better than looking for watching a great Netflix, right? Yeah, it's inspirational, it's distracting, but that won't make you professional.
Mm-hmm.
And so coaching is an art. It's not purely knowledge. It's a lot of practice. It's a lot of subtleties. It's a lot of feedback. And that's why it's important that we have these interactions and that we have these live workshops. And that you coach and you are observed in the way you coached. So if a program doesn't have that, well, it's a nice distraction. It can be a source of inspiration, but in terms of making you a professional, I'm not really convinced. I mean, you've been a trainer long enough, Charles, to know that people who are just attending your class are not necessarily that competent at the end of the class if they have not participated.
I
Okay.
agree, but still I'll be challenging us all to look
Yeah.
into what technology can offer, and possibly the future could be very near where you'll have customized artificial intelligence driven type of training, and at the end you equally become best.
Yeah. I'm not against technology. To be really honest, we have started the People Coach certification purely in person. And then we moved into online because of this beautiful COVID. And that was the only way that we could finish the certification that we had started. Now, that means that I had, as a training content provider, I had to redesign everything so that it is actually suitable for use online. And should that be in person or should that be online? Every single cohort, each group has a final evaluation. And I was thinking that when we had in person, fully in person, I was assuming that in terms of the level and the variant in terms of evaluation, that would be lower than the online. But it's actually not true. I think it comes from several factors. The fact that I have reviewed every content and I've only taken what was the very best to the online version. So the quality has increased. Second, I think the format in smaller chunk is easier for people to focus and to remember. So there's less lost time into being distracted, being tired, etc. And there are many people who also had more time in between the sessions to digest, to ask questions, to reconnect, and really embrace and own the journey. The good thing as well when we actually do that online is that there are many people who are not, for whom English is their second language. And because it's recorded, what they do is that they record it, they listen several times to the same thing, so that they're really more comfortable and they can understand every single word. They can make it with a lower pace. They can have the subtitles, and that really helps. And it helps to have a broader audience, to have these connections from all over the world. To me, it's a richer experience because people need to raise their game. You know, you need to adapt to different people, and that makes you more adaptive at the very end. Any other question at this stage? No. Okay. So just a little word about who I am, because we don't know each other so well yet. So I've been working in finance for 15 years in Luxembourg. I'm a mother of 4. And I had the most interesting job in operational risk, and being very curious, I could ask as many questions as I wanted, but I was looking for deeper purpose. So I started cultural workshop with children, and at that time they were really feeling very safe. So they started to open up and share plenty of things, and I was touched because they were really sharing important things, but I didn't know what to do next with that and how to help them. And same thing in the office, people were coming to my office and they feel very confident sharing. And I was, again, very heartwarming because it's nice that people feel confident and share with you. They really trust you, but then how to help, how to empower. And I had not much tool. Common sense is helping, but not to a certain extent. And so I've noticed that if I wanted to go to the next step, I wanted to have more tools to help people develop and to help empower people. So that's where I went into training and coaching, and training has always been a passion. I had no certification at that time for that, so I wanted to go into this, and I did a certification in training and coaching. Now, the very first coaching was very disturbing because for me, coming from finance, I had checklists and I had to apply recipes, and I was very structured. And I never used my intuition, or rarely. I was not so comfortable with emotions, especially other people's one. And I love training, but I had to unlearn many of my training skills because the point was no longer to tell people what to do. So it has been a bit of a difficult time to go through that transition and to find my balance again. I also had a baby, a toddler, 2 scholars at home. I was working part-time. My husband was traveling quite a lot. So coaching certification on top of that was not necessarily the nicest time to handle. But every time I wanted to drop everything, because that was hard, I noticed the transformation that was happening in the people that I've coached. And there are a few coaches who have literally changed my life. So I thought, if they can do that so well, if we can manage to have such a positive influence and help to empower people so that they change their life in such a very inspiring and very positive way, then I want to be able to do that. So I took part to the coaching certification I mentioned at the very beginning, and it was not ICF certified. I had nothing on business development, so I struggled quite a lot to find client at first. Then we moved to Malaysia, and I had to start again from scratch. Yes, that had taught me to stand out, to find my positioning, how to do an excellent job as a coach, and really how to transform people's life for better. So later on, I had a dear business partner, Jeff, who was dreaming about coaching certification. And I was very resisting, thinking that it was quite a responsibility to train coaches, because we do have influence on others. And it needs to be, in my eyes, a very positive one. Otherwise, not ethical. So it took me time until I was a certified supervisor, coaching supervisor, and being able to help coaches with ethics and professionalism to accept to launch the People Coach certification with him. And once I moved back to Luxembourg, it was no longer possible to do this with Jeff because of the time difference. And so Shanta and Nancy very kindly offered to join to help me in this journey. So it's about a little bit about who I am and how I've been here. So I've been certified in 2011. I've been mostly doing parental coaching and leadership coaching. So one question I often have is, can I do life coaching and can I do executive coaching? The People Coach certification is preparing you for both. I often give examples of the two different worlds. One is not better than the other. It's just that we need to have the different codes. We need to connect at a different level, and we need to feel credible in each of these different environments. It doesn't mean that you cannot do both, but I would strongly suggest that when you begin, you choose one, you're really good at one, and then you expand as much as you want, but you have something solid instead of doing a bit of everything, because otherwise we just waste our energy, and it's really difficult to be standing out and to be sharp. I've been accredited PCC, which is the second level of the ICF. I'm working to get the MCC probably next year. And I have been an experienced coaching supervisor and a mentor, and therefore I have co-created the Association of Coaching Supervisors and Mentor, ACSM, that is in Malaysia and still very active, and I definitely invite you to join what they do. So I've been in training for quite some time. I've coached more than 950 people and trained more than 2,000. And as a word, as a conclusion on that, I definitely love coaching. It's been something that I could not really live without anymore. It's more than a job. It's really something that I love. That's being my passion, and I'm so glad that I can have my passion and my job on the same circumstance. Now, here's a little bit of a test. Imagine that you're a client and you're connecting on one of these coaching platforms, and you have these 3 profiles who come to you. Which one would you hire as a coach? You may type in the chat so that we get a sentiment of what you think and how you make the decision. Which criteria do you take? Okay, so I see that Melat has chosen. Melat, what has made you choose my profile rather than Ibrahim's or Julia's one? Could you share what was your decision-making process?
Hello,
Hi,
good afternoon.
good afternoon, Melat.
Good afternoon. Sorry, I joined in a little bit late, about
No worries.
24 minutes after, so I didn't get the whole thing. But just based on what I got from here, I would choose Marianne because of the number of hours, which is more than the other 2 participants of coaching hours, which is I think 2,000 something, and also the rating given 9.6.
Okay.
Very
So
crude.
that, yeah, and that's very logical, definitely. And I see that Henry would have all these same elements as well. Now, the way it actually works is that the rating are rarely published. They are computed because the algorithm are really good at it. And it's rarely the case that the number of coaching hours is highlighted. What is highlighted is usually PCC or ACC, but you won't make a huge difference between someone who has 1,003 or someone who has 2,002. And therefore, people will have their own criteria. So if they want a male, they will definitely choose Ibrahim. If they want somebody who is in their 20s, they would probably choose more Julia than me. But beyond these factors that you can't go against, what you are in control of is the quality of your rating. And for that, there's absolutely no magic. Why do I get this 9.6? It's because I'm able to use coaching techniques that are varied enough and appropriate, because I do have real practice with clients, because I have been mentored and I'm still mentored on my competencies so that I keep growing and really I sharpen my competencies. I do have supervision, and I have been under supervision for all these years, and I have a clear positioning on who are the clients that I serve best. So if you just follow these ones that you notice are actually designed in the People Coach certification, you definitely can progress and being towards that same thing. There's not much hazard in that. Is really being straightforward in the way we do and consistent. Now, in terms of how can you become a certified people coach, if that's the one that interests you, basically there are many coaching certifications, and each of them have their advantage and their way of doing. So you now have these 5 questions that you can ask so that you can gauge whether it's professional enough, whether that suits you, whether that will help you to be standing out. And I can share with you in terms of the people coach certification, how it works. So we have a step-by-step progress where you have 4 modules, the one on fundamental coaching technique. And at the end of the module 1, you start coaching real clients. So for that, you have support in module 2 in terms of monitoring and supervision. On module 3, we expand the coaching techniques that you have as well, even more, so that you are ready to address whatever is brought by the clients. And module 4, the one that's optional for people who do not need it, is actually for marketing. Now, in reality, I've seen many people who chose, even if that was not mandatory, to attend the marketing, because even internally, you need to sell your ideas and to convince people to go for coaching or have the budget or have the availability. So that was helpful for them too. So all this is happening online with interaction. So these are the live workshop that we do all together. And you have the other part where it's actually what you do on your own time. So these are the online content pre-study, the coaching practice with 5 clients. And for each client, you have 5 sessions. So that's why you get these 25 sessions. You have self-review, you have journaling, you have analysis. All this is happening because in adult learning, we need to have some analysis, some reflection to identify patterns, to focus our learning on specific areas, and to be able to take some step back in order to notice what was happening. And children really usually learn by immersion, but adults learning work differently by reflection. So we provide that for reflection. And at the end, you have an essay, a case study, and you have an exam. So the exam is actually an evaluation of your coaching practicum. So I evaluate how you coach. It's recorded, you get feedback. And if you are meeting all the ICF competency standards, then you pass. If not, I give you insights of what are the areas that you need to grow. And then you pass a second time once you have had practicing, and you can then demonstrate that now you are now at the level expected. So in every cohort, there are people who needed to pass several times. It's not a drama, it's just to make sure that on the market, the people coach who are certified won't harm others. It's easy to harm when we are not competent in coaching. And I don't want that to happen with people that I have trained. So I want to make sure that you have the level of competencies that will help you to help others in a very positive way. Now we have designed it into 2-hour slot so that it's dinner time in Asia, it's lunchtime in Europe and Africa, and it's breakfast time in America. And we can then meet together for these 2 hours. So here are the dates. They're also on the website. All the dates here indicated are mandatory in the sense that participant needs to practice. And for practice, we need your attendance. And if you are not joining, then it actually impacts the whole group. So it's important that you have all the dates well in advance and that you do everything you can to actually join. Now, when we're talking about the online content. On that, you can really fit within your own schedule the way you want. You can review the video several times. It's actually a step-by-step progress. Same thing for coaching practice. You will have coaching hours with your clients, and you agree together with your clients when it suits you best. If you want to do it face-to-face, if you want to do online, same thing. It's up to you to decide. You really have a lot of freedom into that. And the essay and case study is due for February 28th. So you have 1 month after we finished module 3 to write all this and send it. So you should have ample time and it can really fit. Now, in terms of the online content, I will just share with you how it looks like in real. So this is the online content platform, and you see there are several modules. So the People Coach certification, then the powerful coaching question is a reward when you have reached a certain milestone. And that helps you to have a repertoire of coaching questions that are really helping to bring new perspective, to unlock situation, to help people think differently. And the last one here, a key to insightful feedback, is just an excerpt of the People Coach certification, and I can grant you access if you want, for you to have some kind of idea of how it looks like, and you can test and see if that suits you. So the certification content is actually split again among module 1, 2, 3, etc. And for each of them, you notice that you need to complete these steps before the live sessions that we have together, because the live session is to apply and to practice what is the content that you have learned here. So now, as for example, when we're talking about this credible coaching relationship, here it's about designing a coaching contract. How is it a coaching contract? What needs to be in there? Why is it important? What's the difference between a coaching contract and whichever contract? And every time you see that you have a video, the video is actually short. I make sure that they're less than 10 minutes so that if you want to review something, you don't have to listen to another 45 minutes and been lost somewhere. You can really change the speed as much as you want. And I've added always the audio version so that if you want to hear it in commuting or when the internet is low, then you can definitely have the audio, and that's easier. So you have documents to attach as well. And for each of them, you have different steps. So what do you need to do? So for example, here you need to watch the video, then you need to customize your coaching agreement. So there are some templates here that you can download on top. And it's about you customizing it, having one for corporate, one from life coaching, so that you're really ready with professional tools. And then when you're talking to your client, you start on using the tools that I use as a professional. And once you have completed all of these steps, then you can go to the next lesson. So it's really step by step. We also have some, at each level, you can ask questions. So here, for example, at that stage, you can ask a question. You type your question and you ask it. And in the community, we have the different answers to post on what you will share, what will happen if you coach on the wrong goal, for example, what are different coaching myths and how do we help to address them. And here, for example, everyone is actually building on it, and we have this collective wisdom that's helping to work on that question, for example. And then we have the live sessions where we actually schedule all the live sessions that we have together. you can add them to your calendar and you will get reminders, and you have the link that is automatically generated. So that's actually very guided, and everything that you need is there. If there's anything more that you would need, you just tell, and then we adjust until you have something that suits you. So I have, as soon as you enroll for the coaching certification, you have access to the online platform. So for example, I have people who have enrolled last month and they've already progressed, though we start in September, because for them that was more suitable in terms of their timeline. So it's your own rhythm, and that works well for what you want. You can start as soon as you want in this. In terms of the values, so you have all these 3 online content and live workshops. You also have 7 hours of group mentoring. You have the module 2, which is coaching practice with clients. And for that, it's difficult to give a value because that's really what you bring, but it makes a huge difference for people. You have ongoing supervision. And then as a bonus, you have this module 4 for marketing, the 3 individual mentoring to help you going towards ACC, if this is something that's meaningful for you. And you have every template that we use as professional, so that you do start like professionals do, and you don't have to reinvent everything. It's really tested, working, and something that you can really rely on. So in terms of value, it's definitely something more than 11,000 euros. And we wanted to, so the public price is 3,595 euros. But if you are here with us and really wanted to offer you something for your patience and your presence, you have a special code that I will give you in the chat, and that will give you some 10% discount. So let me give it to you on the chat to everyone. Here it is. Okay. And is there anything else that you need to know? Maybe sharing with you a few coaches who have attended. We have a bit more than 100 alumni who certified people coaches. Julia is Ukrainian. She's now in the US, and she was working in IT. So it helped her to expand her technical skills with people skills, and really the coaching certification has been helpful. Ed Bernard is a coach who has specialized in helping corporate being more green. So he's found his niche and really helping being the green coach that he has always dreamed to be. So he's a consultant, he's a coach, depending on what's needed and what could be best in that. Who else? Eriko, Eriko is actually a recruiter. And so the coaching certification has helped her to enhance her practices in terms of recruiting talents, not only to discern who are the people who have the right potential, but also to help the people who are a bit unclear about where would they want to go next and who won't be convincing in an interview, to step up and to sharpen their skills so that they can be finding a job much quicker. Erika is Japanese. Her English was a bit shaky, and for her it was an amazing journey to do that in English. She really enjoyed it, but she did a lot of work to make sure that she could follow up and be there. So the content, the available recording has been helpful for her to really catch up and being really on par. And Mindy is a sales coach, so she helps in training for sales, and she helps in coaching as well for sales. So here are all some of the brilliant people who joined us. Shanta also did. Nancy also did. And more than happy to answer any question that you may have after have been listening to me for such a long time, and I really appreciate your patience in that. So, is there anything that we would need to go further on to clarify, to expand, so that you feel comfortable that you are well equipped to make decisions later on? Charles, I see that you were unmuted.
Marianne,
Is there a question?
Great presentation. Thank you very much. Only one quick question on how do you get the customers? Because if you don't practice, it means it won't have any value. You need to practice. How do you get the customers to coach?
So my way of getting customers may be different from yours because we all have different talents, right? So I get customers by my network. So I used to be a trainer, so I'm still a trainer. And when I train, there are people who are sharing things that are blocking them or with which they have difficulties. And when I train people on emotional intelligence, then there are people who then would need coaching and will come to me. I have people who are referring me because they have been seeing me coaching and they're recommending me to others. I have a clear positioning in terms of being able to help senior leaders when they are embracing a regional role or global role. So I have credential on that. And so my marketing is targeted towards that. And so for very large companies like Shell, for example, they would have some agreement that is a global one with a training and coaching company. And so my client or my marketing would be towards this training company so that they can recommend me as being one of the coach for Shell people, because they would have a 5-year contract with 500 people all over the world. And of course, I won't be only one of the coaches, but they would need to have a pool of coaches. And then I'm also on some coaching platforms. And so they provide me some clients as well. Now, it's easier when I'm now with 14 years of experience and I have a lot of credentials. You know, when I tell people that I've coached almost 1,000 people, I have almost nothing to prove them credible or not. When we start in coaching, it's quite different. So we need to have a different positioning, and we need to probably have also different marketing strategies too. So that's why I was telling that my way of doing now is probably different than anybody else, and it highly depends on which stage we are in our business as well.
Victoria has a question.
Oh, that's Victoria. Okay,
Victoria.
sure. Hi, Victoria.
Hi. Thank you so much for that very nice presentation, Marianne. First of all, I'll be grateful to Madam Shanta. She's my coach, and she's the one who taught me about this program. I'm so grateful to her. I just want to know if there is any time frame for someone to take to coach someone. Maybe you can take 5 months, or there is a limitation of time when you are coaching someone. Thank you so much.
Yes, there is, in a sense that there is what I think is a minimum, in the sense that when we're coaching, we're helping a person grow and mature, and that one takes time. So I'm fully against miracle coaching, where I see you twice and, oh, by magic, you've changed. to me, this is not a lasting transformation. This is not really enough to learn, and the learning path is not built enough. So I have coaching contract that never last less than 3 months. And then in terms of the typical one, it's actually 6 to 9 months. Sometimes it can last a bit longer. So for example, I had a client who wanted to be to find a job in terms of career coaching, and he's working for luxury watches. So the kind of watch that I never buy, but who are who cost 50,000 euros each. And when you buy one of them, you have a helicopter that you can call at any time to bring you somewhere, you know, just the kind of thing that's not really my universe. But to sell these kind of thing, there are only a few firms all over the world. They're all in Switzerland. And as you can imagine, being the marketing director of one of these firms means that somebody is leaving their job. So the chance that you have an invitation for an interview is actually once in a month. So with this client, it took 18 months before we ended the coaching, but that was really the longest. Most typical is 6 months to a year maximum, I would say. And it's hard at the end because we're leaving our clients who've been building such a nice relationship. So thank you, Victoria.
Thank you so much, Madam Marianne. Thank you.
Welcome. Henry, do you have a question? I see your mic is unmuted.
Yes, I'm fidgeting to make the move. I think my question goes along the lines of what Charles asked earlier. And it also is because of my own skepticism of having tried and having failed to get it going. In what you offer and what you charge for that, I'm not questioning that at all, and I'm not saying that you should do more. But if you would allow me to just do some wishful thinking here, is I'm kind of looking to be taken by the hand in the first period. And I can imagine that for you and maybe for Shanta in the meantime also already, it's fairly easy to find clients. And for me, it's like it would be the catch-22. It's like you wish for your client to be a good, if not a great coach, but you need to go through a number of them to be that great coach, and the client will, of course, look at it that way as well. The slides with the examples, of which with the hours and the experience and the rating. So, is there something possible in this cooperation which would be able to take me by the hand a bit more?
So yes, I've shown you the number of hours and the experience. Now the thing is, this is rarely shared. What you would just see is ACC or PCC. So it's not as transparent as maybe it should be. But before coaching will be regulated, it will take probably another century. So, and what is actually playing in favor as well of people who start in coaching is that usually the rates are different. When we start coaching, we do not charge the same as when we have 10 years of experience. So in that sense, you would not necessarily target the same clients. It's difficult when you start as a coach to coach senior leaders of large companies, because you won't necessarily have the credibility, and it will take years until you get there. But if you want to coach startup entrepreneurs, they will not question and they will not require that, right? So it's about being clear when we start of what are the expectations of the market, and when can I position myself so that I'm actually credible at that level. It's also on what is the internal dialogue that's playing in my head. It's way easier to sell products because we're not offering ourselves than to sell services, and to sell services where it's us, right?
Yeah,
so
that was my experience as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's this mental process that needs to happen as well. And then it's about also creating some avenue to get that visibility, to have these networking opportunities, to have these speaking opportunities, to have these blogging opportunities, if that's your thing, or making sure that you are exposed to the community that you want to serve. And that comes as well with some kind of internal soul searching on who is my community, on what am I passionate about, and how do I want to align in that way.
Agreed,
So,
but also there I feel there is a catch-22 in when I feel confident, I can really sell myself very well. But I want to be sure. It's maybe the ethical point also that that seems to be important to you as well. I'm sure if I subscribe to your course with the help of Shanti and Nancy also, I'm going to learn a lot, but I'm not going to be a great coach in 6 months. That's going to take time, and that's going to require a lot of doing, as Charles also indicated. And my effectiveness in selling myself is not only a matter of doing the right things, as you will teach in the module and all the avenues, but it's also having this confidence in myself that I'm really good at what I do.
So the confidence you will have it, and the confidence you will have it at the end of the certification, because I can tell you, you will practice and you will get feedback. And the feedback that people will give you that confidence that, yes, you may not be the best coach ever, but I don't think there's anyone who is, or self-proclaimed, but doesn't make sense. But you can already make a difference for people's life. Now, the difference between what you will do and what I do is that it will take more time for you. For when I am experienced, and that's why I charge more, I can see and notice much quicker where is the issue, right? And because of this practice, and then I can say, okay, so that store would be better, etc. And that requires that velocity, that rapidity requires practice. But what I will do intrinsically is still what you will do when you start. So in terms of confidence, you will get that confidence because you will have practice. I can tell you, at the end of the certification, people are no longer thinking about, oh, what's the next question to ask? It comes there. They have this practice. They're ready to get there, and they have credentials and feedback from what people have given to them. So it won't be a confidence issue. It will be more about being strategic on who do I want to help. You're convinced that you can help. You will have evidence, but who would you like to help, and how do you position yourself in there, and being really crystal clear on that when you articulate your message. Now, the module 4 is helping. Is that enough? Not necessarily. And not necessarily in the sense that I'll give you the insights, and it's about 3 months. But what is often happening is that people need to do that back and forth. So they try something, they have a positioning, and then it's not exactly what they were looking for. So they need to come back, get some feedback, and that and keep on going. So I have another program where this one is on a year basis. It's just purely on marketing for coaches, and that one has some mentoring every second week, and where I give feedback precisely on how can we position, how can we adjust, what's the marketing strategy, what is your offer, how can you sharpen this offer. And that one is really purely marketing. So
Okay.
I have people who have signed for both. And yes, there is a bundle, a better price for those who have, because we know each other better and it's easier to have good practice for that. So if that's something that you're keen for, that's also possible.
Okay.
Can I just jump in here, Marianne?
Yes.
I only graduated in June last year, June or July last year, about a year ago. But immediately after I graduated, in September last year, I started coaching. I already was coaching earlier, even without being certified. But here are Victoria and Halima, who are my coachees, who went through 6 months of coaching with 5 or 6 months of coaching with me. Marianne is very correct, because during the coaching certification, when you have 5 coaches, one from your classmate, your course mate, one, and then you are being coached by another batchmate, course mate of yours. And in that being coached, you're also seeing how a coach is performing from a student coach, so to speak, in the class. And you are coaching one other person, and Marianne has said that this gives you a chance to say, oh, I'm sorry, maybe I asked such a long question, or I put 3 or 4 questions together. Let me rephrase myself. So it's a learning platform. You make mistakes, and then you talk to each other, and then you improve and correct yourself. At the same time, you're coaching 4 clients outside. And that the bar is higher, because Marianne's philosophy is you don't harm anybody, you help people. That's always at the back of your mind when you ask questions. You don't want to give any solutions, any direction, any prescription. And so you are practicing quite correctly with all this. You remember, Henry, you asked me when we spoke last week, when I told you about certain questions I asked, you yourself asked me, do you have a natural tendency to ask these questions, or did you learn this? And I told you that I'm very poor at asking questions. I was corrected many times by Marianne. I used to ask 2, 3 questions at one go. So somehow, upon gaining the certification,
I can relate.
Confident. Yeah, I felt confident. I felt confident. The reason I felt confident, because I felt we had been put through the grind in a very stringent course. The training is very stringent. There's no half-hearted way of doing things in this training. It's stringent, it's quite tough in the sense that people like you and me who have a lot of experience, we have to unlearn. And that unlearning takes place through the practice session, the mentoring, the observations. We are being corrected. So I felt very confident, because I felt I had a kind of a good training. So I felt very confident in my skills. The added benefit of having working experience, I think you bring a lot of wisdom. So when you are older as a coach, you bring in a lot of wisdom from all your work experience. And that gives you an added confidence that you are ready for the coaching sessions. So I just wanted to reassure you that I started coaching soon after I graduated. Of course, there was a lot to learn. Of course, I made mistakes. Of course, here and there, I might have given some solutions, but I keep correcting myself and pulling back because it's an unlearning and relearning. So I have two of my coaches here. Maybe they were inspired by being coached by me, that they are excited to learn how to coach as well. So the confidence part, I think it will come.
Yes,
And you
Shanta.
will also, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shanta, I remember our conversation very well from last week. It was very nice and very inspiring. And your points are very valid, no question there.
Yeah.
But I also remember you had you had some luck. Some of your coaches are here. You have been doing coaching before being certified. And that's actually all I'm looking for. And it's okay if the answer is no, but I'm just interested if there are chances to be offered things, so that for me the point is not to have guaranteed income of the point is that there is there's momentum, and I think Charles mentioned that as well. You have to keep using it. Marianne showed a slide about it also, that if you don't use it, you tend to lose it. And I have experienced myself how I can lose that momentum. I believe in what Marianne explained about the support you get and about doing the marketing right. And I'm sure I can learn things, but I'm also not a novice in marketing. I've done quite a bit already. So there's things in me that are finding it difficult to throw myself in the deep and keep swimming and do it all by myself. I need to be. I want to be more supportive, but if it's not available, that's also an answer. I don't want. You don't want to create expectations that you can fulfill, and I want to also not have expectations and then you say, oh, but we never promised that. That was never part of the offer. So that's why I'm asking.
So I have an offer for Mark that is really focused on marketing and growing your practice. It's called Finding Paid Coaching Clients. It's on the other website that is dedicated to coaches. Let me share. Here it is. Now, what is also happening is that there are opportunities in coaching that are linked to your previous experience, as Shanta mentioned. So, for example, I used to be an auditor, used to work for PricewaterhouseCoopers and Ernst & Young. And I'm coaching people now who have to take a difficult technical exam. So they are auditors and they want to be at a higher level in terms of spending, in terms of getting that accreditation, let's say. The technical aspects, they're just absolutely brilliant. What's missing is their self-confidence, is everything they're telling themselves. They're just losing their self-esteem. They're just not articulating it well. They're just surprised, feeling unsure, impressed by the people who are judging them. And so on all these aspects, I can definitely coach. So these people came to me because I used to be an auditor, but I'm not actually at all helping on the technical part. So, for example, you could help people who are in sales to be more performing in terms of sales. You would be credible because you've been in sales marketing. You can really tap on that, but you won't teach the sales recipes. You would definitely help them to find their confidence, their legitimacy, give some feedback and help them grow what is in their mental space that could be blocking for them to thrive in terms of marketing and sales. So it's about tapping into your own experience where you're legitimate and adding the coaching skills so that you can really help these people.
Makes sense.
Mm.
Thank
And
you,
you can
Marianne.
do that in every industry you've been to, right? If that's helping people who are in high tech to be more innovative, if that's helping people who are in the medical sector to be more performing, or to avoid burnout, or to have a better time management. All these things are probably things that you've gone through yourself,
Right.
and that you can be credible because you will describe it almost better than they would do, since you've experienced it. And then you come with your coaching skills to actually help them navigate through that.
Right. And avoid the trap of telling them what to do, as Shanta and I both seem to enjoy doing.
Yeah, another thing that I wanted to add is that I think when you have a community of coaches, whoever you graduate with, I mean, since I graduated from that cohort, I have recommended coaches to my cohort. There was a person with a young son. I didn't want to coach a young student. So I recommended it to Siddharth, who was from India. He was my cohort, but he had gone back to India. And I have recommended several to Nancy. People I know and I can't coach, I've recommended to Nancy. So when you're part of a community of coaches, when I asked Marianne to coach somebody, Marianne said that if I wanted somebody else at a lower rate, she will recommend somebody, because Marianne has her own rate. So when you're part of the community of coaches and the networking, I've just recommended Nancy, and I think she's on the verge of signing a contract for 10 coaches starting this October. So she's on the verge of it now. I think it's being considered now. So I think when you're part of a network, there are some coaches who only want to take a few a month. There's some coaches who are more full-time, they can handle more a month. So I think we recommend each other. Definitely, if somebody came from the corporate sector, I can coach, but it's not my preference.
Right.
So I would recommend it to somebody else that I know who is a coach. And I have to know that person and to be comfortable who I'm recommending.
Right.
So I think it's part of really after that, after I graduated, I sent my certificate to a lot of people. I sent out my certificate by WhatsApp to a lot of people, right? And then I have participants who come back to me with problems, like Marianne said. When people come back to me and they want to talk about problems, when I freely discussed it before, now I say I'm a certified coach. Can I make a coaching offer? So I give a very low rate of 50 ringgit an hour for these young professionals, like young diplomats and all. And one of them is on the verge of talking to me this weekend. So I converted these calls for support and help into coaching offers. I'm also starting to send out coaching offer letters to companies where I have friends working. I've spoken to them and I say, give me the HR manager, let me send a coaching offer. So I'm building up, because I know next year I won't have this contract that I have now. So I have to build up. And a friend of mine offered me to get onto a platform in Malaysia where they need coaches. And she said she has got 4 coaches every month through this platform. So it's a part of you now reaching out through your network to tell them that you are now a coach, and start from there. Yeah.
And I think it's even more important to do it as soon as you start. You don't need to wait until you're a certified coach, because yes, you have a minimum of 5 coaches, but if you want to have 10 or 15 or 20, go for it. And if you go to a startup incubator and you tell them, I can offer you 5 coaching sessions to 3 different people, I do it for free because I'm still in that training process, or I just do it for a coffee for each session, people will come. That will give you some connections. And after that, once you have done these 5 sessions and you've creating that relationship, you have this credibility within the startup. It's easier to say, hey, now I'm certified. If you want to continue I can offer you this package and this package and this package.
Right.
So
Right.
you don't have to wait until you're fully certified. And I would strongly encourage that you don't wait. So coaching NGOs, coaching people who are starting something where you can make a difference is really available, and you will get the support during their coaching supervision to ensure that you're on track and that you're doing a good
Right.
job, so that
Yeah.
it's a success for them.
Yeah, that makes it a lot more ethical also, not just be trying shooting from the hip.
Yeah, and
Great.
it's about
Thank you.
exploring all the opportunities here and there. And sometimes it's just about, starting small by having, I don't know, you launch, that you have a book, like say of, I don't know, marketing in 10 sessions or in 10 lessons, or 7 lessons of marketing or whatever. And you just have you just put on LinkedIn and say, hey, I would like to have people happy to grow their marketing and will follow this structure, and who's happy to join. And you have your online coaching.
Right, right.
If you do it for a price of a coffee, people are joining. And then once you've built that, you can, every time there is a new client, you just double your price until you find that it's the rate where it's decent and where I'm really doing my best, and that's a good value for them too.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Most welcome. If there's any last question, because I have a coaching session in 13 minutes, so happy to answer any question before. Is there any?
Marianne, if I don't know if there are questions, they can come, but I want to, before people log off, I really want to thank those who I called and I spoke to, who have joined. Henry, who is joining us from Belgium. Charles, a very, very old friend of mine who gave me a lot of assignments in Tanzania. Charles' wife was there earlier, Jeanette. And I want to thank Jeanette also for joining us just now. I want to thank Victoria, my former coachee, who is from the Bank of Tanzania. I want to thank Halima. Charles, I don't know whether you know Halima. Halima is also an engineer in Tanzania, very active in the Institution of Engineers. Thank you, Halima, for joining this session. Melat, a very old friend from Ethiopia, whom I worked with and now residing in Switzerland. Thank you for joining. Ambassador Peter Kalage, thank you so much for joining this session. Thank you to all of you for joining this session. I'm so grateful. I'm so happy to see all of you here. Thank you, Marianne, for giving me this opportunity to say my thanks to everyone.
Most welcome. Thank you all, definitely. And thank you, Shanta, to bring you all here. Every time Shanta is adding, I'm like, oh my God, it's so humbling to have so much wisdom in this call, and so many amazing souls. So it's a great honor to be among yourself too. So if you ever have more question, I think you all have my emails, and at each of these emails you also have in the signature my WhatsApp. So feel free to drop me a text, to write me an email. I may not be available right away if I am a coaching session, but I would definitely answer. And looking forward to meet you at any other opportunity that we have to cross path. And if you want to join us for the People Coach certification, I definitely welcome you there. And any question in the meantime, feel free. Thank you so much for joining. It's been a pleasure to work with all you.
Thank you,
Looking
Marianne.
forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you
Bye.
all.
Mela,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
Bye. We see you now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Marianne.
Bye.